Hi everyone, welcome back. This week I'm sharing my hypnosis session with Allison Coe. I did this session 7 months ago and I haven't shared it before now because she asked if she could share it. So I waited and it's now been 7 months and she just the other day released 2 episodes or 2 sessions, and one of them wasn't this session. So I finally got to a place where I realized if this information is going to be shared, it's going to be shared through me, and I'm very happy to do so. The thing is after this session, I actually didn't listen to it until preparing it for this recording. So I knew what it was about because I completely had integrated and moved on from the information. But in the session, I went really deep. And I think even hearing the process of me connecting is super interesting because you can tell in the beginning where I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know, And as you go deeper, you connect with a deeper part of yourself that then has this wealth of information that me as an ego mind personality did not know. I want to talk about too how and why I knew that I could go this deep with Allison. I didn't know of her at all before this session. Someone had sent me one of her episodes that had just come out, which was called Builders, Creators, Shifts, and Holograms. And it was through listening to that episode that I knew this girl is going to be able to get to the bottom and go deep with me. Because when I'm in a place of being connected, the information that can come through me really is only by as deep as the person asking the questions. And so she had me fill out a pretty big questionnaire about what I was wanting to explore. And then we met, I think, for like an hour and a half before the session. And she got to know me and what I was really wanting to dig into. And so knowing that, it felt like she was going to be able to go deep, and deep she did go. So I bring that up because when you're selecting a hypnotherapist, it is important that the vibration is able to commune with your own. And you will only know that by this resonance that you just feel. So after I heard that episode on YouTube, I was like, yes, I know she's going to get me there. And I know that whatever the cost or whatever it is, it's going to be perfect. So I think then 2 months later was my appointment. And in this session, we talk about, I'm just going to give you some highlights, the Merkaba and how my higher self, my soul, my monad is connected to me, and how the fractals are working through the monad. And I didn't know it at the time, but I speak of this crystal sphere that's embedded in my chest or my thymus heart center. And after this session, funnily enough, of course, I was ready to receive the vibration. There's a show on Gaia called Codex, which episodes 7 and 8, which are Salvator Mundi and the Philosopher's Stone and the Ringsel crystals, perfectly align with what I'm talking about in this session. And essentially, if you haven't heard of the show called Codex or seen those 2 episodes, if you want to dive deeper into what I'm speaking about this energy moving through that heart center, please go and check it out. I will link those below. Also, I dive into earth altars, what an avatar is and how we're bringing down avatar energy, which also then refers to an episode that I did called Activating the 144,000. If you haven't heard that, definitely one to go to after this. I talk about my walk-in experience and also how energy is brought down through the vessel and through the chakra system into this planet, into this earth for everyone, not just for a walk-in, but for everyone. I also spoke about how that crystal that I hold as my monad is me always wearing that rose quartz necklace that I have worn really since the beginning of this process of awakening, was a reminder to me, that connection, that 12 fractal connection to my other selves. And I haven't spoken about this yet, but I want to say that I wore that crystal for about 3 years. And about at the beginning of January, I felt the call to Moldavite and to start training with the energy of Moldavite at my heart center at the thymus. And since then I wore them both for about 3 weeks. And then I got the message that the rose quartz was ready to go, and that I was ready to hold just Moldavite. So it's interesting that for me, it took 3 years of the soft vibration of rose quartz until I was ready for the intensity of Moldavite at that portal. Now, tread lightly there, play with it, because if you guys have been along with me on this journey, you're going to know that me and Moldavite, it's so intense that I normally, or throughout those 3 years, I only worked with Moldavite as an incense because it was such an intense energy for me to put on my body. Although I do have a ring, I rarely wore it because it was like vibration city. So it was a process to get to the place of wearing it at that heart center. But yes, now that is what I wear. I think that's all I wanted to talk about beforehand. I will link below Allison's website, her YouTube channel, and also the show on Gaia called Codex. And I hope that you guys enjoy this. There's so much information. It is a long episode, and I did try to cut back as much as I could, but there's just so many good nuggets in there that I think are going to be helpful for so many people. And as you guys know, I feel like the more that I can share, the more it ignites a fire or a remembrance in your own system, which is the whole point of sharing. So I hope you enjoy it, and I will talk to you guys next week.
At the count of 3, let's do that. And let's see where this door leads. 1, 2, 3. Entering that doorway, walking right on through. Right on through. And let me know when you're on the other side.
I'm on the other side.
Okay. Do you get the impression of being indoors or outdoors?
It feels like floating.
Very good. Very good. Does it feel like the consistency of floating in water or floating in air or something else?
Air, but denser than air, because I can feel it surrounding me as well.
Very good. Okay. Do you get the sense of any colors or shapes around you in this place?
I just feel this this teal-y color, but it's like a dark teal. I don't see anything else. But my breath feels different here. It's like in a cavern almost, like a chamber of some kind.
Okay. Very good. Do you find that you get the sense of having a physical body while floating, or do you get the sense that you're more energetic?
I feel like I have a body because I can, like, I feel like I'm echoing when I talk, and it's weird because it feels like the air is kind of denser than our air, so I can feel that with my hands and my legs and my body. Not as jelly as the door, but denser than our air.
Very good. Very good. Do you get a sense of a desire to move in any certain direction in this place?
When I breathe in, it feels like I'm being pulled upward.
Okay. Okay. As you move upward, do you notice any changes? Relatively the same.
It feels like a little lighter, like it's a brighter color, and it feels a little bit lighter on my body. It doesn't feel as dense in the air.
Very good. Okay. Wonderful. Do you get more, as you're moving, do you get more of a sense of your body, yourself, now that you're moving?
I feel like I'm just like kind of floating up here. Like not tied to anything though, but kind of just like floating and slowly going upward.
Very good. Very good. Do you see anything else around you as you float upwards, as you make your ascent? I'm curious if your surroundings become more clear to you at all.
No, I still just feel the color. I don't see anything.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And we have a way of kind of moving quickly up, traveling quickly at the count of 3. At the count of 3, we will reach whatever is at the highest point that you can go. 1, 2, 3. At this point, do you seem to rise above the surface, or do you remain under?
I'm I feel like I'm in a ship. It changed completely the sound of me, and I feel more dense now. I'm not floating anymore.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Let's ground ourselves in this new location. If you'd like, you can stomp your feet on the ground. Very good. And this ship, does it feel more like an old wooden ship or like a spaceship or something between the two?
I would say like a spaceship that's kind of oblong, but I'm not seeing. I just feel the space. I don't feel like I see anything else yet.
Very good. Very good. Okay, let's focus on your feet now. Do your feet appear to be covered or bare?
They're blue.
Very good.
Long.
Okay.
like really long toes.
Interesting. And how many toes do you see?
I think it's 7 on each toe or each hand.
Very good. And are they webbed or not?
No, they're not webbed.
Very good. Okay. And let's go ahead and move up your legs.
They're just really, really, really long. I don't have a sex.
Okay. And are they covered or are they bare?
My legs, bare.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. Very good. And let's keep moving up to your chest and your torso.
I'm not covered in clothes. I don't think if I am female, I do see some breasts, but it's like almost like inside of the skin, and I just is a really, really long leg, long torso, long neck, long arms.
Very good. Okay. And your face and head, do they seem covered or do they have hair?
Well, I don't have a mirror, so I can't see what the top looks like. But my ears feel like they are a little bit more than our ears, like more like pointy.
If you reach up and touch your head, what does it feel like to you?
It's more like a kind of like a light bulb, like a bigger on the top and going more narrow down. My eyes feel like they're glassy and big, like the whole, like each one takes up half of the bulb. My nose is small. My mouth is small. I don't feel hair.
Very good. You're doing great. Now, do you have any or
You cut out. I didn't hear you.
do you have any ornamentation or jewelry on your body?
Yes. It's some kind of crystal or medallion in the center of my chest.
Beautiful. Does this seem to be embedded or dangling from your neck? Okay.
Embedded.
What color does this crystal seem to be?
Clear. Round, clear.
Beautiful. Very good. And what do you feel that this crystal does? How does it operate?
I don't know. Let me ask. It's the life center, the life energy, encapsulated in a crystal and held in place in this vessel.
Beautiful. And how do you use it? Do you use it for anything other than the life force energy?
We communicate this way. This is where all energy moves through. So It's interesting. I don't feel like I use my head to have thought or communication. It comes from this crystal here in the middle. So if anyone's talking to me, it feels like that's where the energy is generating from.
Very good. Okay. And can you use it then to communicate with others?
That's the only way we communicate.
Okay. Very good. And let's see how it operates. Can you try it out and communicate to anybody around you?
I asked if there's anyone here, and it felt like something came down inside of, I don't know how to describe, like inside of the space, inside of me though. Like there's nothing separate, like there's no one else here. It just, I said, what else is here? And then this kind of veil, like, kind of not smoke, but kind of like smoke air kind of came and went into the space inside of the crystal.
Okay. And let's continue speaking with this energy or communicating. Would you like to know who this is?
The being is my higher self, but the essences that came in were the fractals.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Now that they're connected with us, with you, let's ask where you are at. What is this place that you're in?
It's just a holding space. The density on this planet is too hard, too harsh on my skeletal system, that I have to have a holding space in order to be close to this planet. So it's not, I mean, you guys would call it a spaceship, but it's not really a spaceship. It's just a force field that is allowing me to be close enough to bring my energy down to the planet. But it's not like a computerized spaceship. It's more of like a Merkaba sphere.
Perfect. Perfect. And where are you located right now?
I feel like I'm above her, but not where
Okay.
she would. I think it's far, like, I don't actually know if it's far. I mean, I have to think about this, because I think if I can't feel a distance. Yeah, I can't feel
Very
a distance.
good. Let's be in this Merkaba and look around.
Yeah, so it definitely feels like I'm in the actual atmosphere of planet Earth. I'm not up in the sky, and I am currently outside the house, and I can see like the valleys and the hills and stuff around the house.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Okay. And with this Merkaba, can we travel to other places then?
So it feels like there's a tether between me and the vessel on Earth, so I don't leave the vessel anymore. So when you say, could I go other places? I don't feel a need to. I don't know. I don't have like I feel like our work is here.
Very good. What would you like the vessel to understand about the Merkaba and your position above her?
We're already one. There is no separation. And it feels like she would say to fully embody, but there is no that's creating a separation, and in saying that she's not one of the fractals that is already in this crystal. She's one of the fractals that holds the energy for this vessel. Or no, for this Merkaba. Oh, so the Merkaba is actually, it's all of the fractals. That's why they're always communicating as, and I say they, because they're all energy that is in this sphere that feels like there's a tether to the vessel here on this earth. And they all communicate through that tether, that line. And they're, in a way, like the other fractals are, I don't know, like holographic, like how I called it smoke. They're not physically embodied in the crystal. It's more of like they're reflected in the crystal and communicating down through the line that is tethered to this earthly vessel. So the higher self is in the Merkaba and close, and the fractals are in that embedded crystal and communicating as well through the higher self.
And where does the blue being sit within this relationship?
That's my question, because the higher self is the one that is the anchor for all fractals, but why is it feeling need to be here? And maybe it's just here for this moment, and this, maybe it feels like, okay, it is here in this sphere right now above me because we are calling it in.
Let's get grounded back into that blue body again.
Okay.
Let's communicate through that crystal. And let's communicate with the higher self about why they're showing us this blue being and the importance of it to you.
She's the most open of the fractals. There's no doubt she's moving forward, and there is a clear channel. So I concentrate most of my energy here in this sphere above her so that we can bring forward new information. And the other fractals are working with me through this higher self sphere into the vessel, because there's information that needs to come from all of these different dimensions. And each dimension is working together to bridge a new experience or new existence on this planet that she is. That's what the bridge is.
Beautiful. Can you tell us more about accessing and building this bridge and where it leads, what the experience will be on the other side?
So all dimensions are working together. That's what the bridge is. It's not just the third dimension to the fifth dimension. It's all dimensions in all galaxies are working together to bring this dimension into a new existence, because when this existence increases its vibration, it leads to a ripple effect in all dimensions. So it's like the higher self is the bridge for this to take place in this vessel. It's literally connecting the strands of these fractals down through one point in this crystal that's embedded, and pulling it down into this planet. But it's not coming from the vessel. It's coming from each dimension. And it feels like there's 12 fractals that are moving through this crystal and down. And it depends on what is happening in the planet will come from a different dimension to help see a different perspective. Because when you're in a situation or in a scenario, you can't see the outside perspective. So the bridge is to fractal out the experience and perspective and give it a more rounded view, so that you don't become attached to either right or left, up or down, good or bad. And the crystal feels like it clarifies it, like it's, how do I say this? Like it feels like it brings it to the heart center before it shares down, so that it's clarified and it's not convoluted by the other dimensions story, like the other dimensions struggles or agendas. That's the word.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What else would you like her to know about accessing this crystal communication and fractal energy?
So I feel like the more that she lets go of the mind and thinking that, it's almost like getting lost in the process. So if we're talking about teaching by doing is actually learning by experiencing, and that all comes through the intuition that is being fed through this cord, through the fractals in the other dimensions. So she's not doing, and I'm going to say we refer to the vessel as a lower experience, but it's actually not. It's part of the bridge. It's like the opening of the bridge. And therefore, if that didn't exist, this information just stays suspended and it can't come down. But she needs to understand the bridge has a different origin, and she's allowing that suspension of energy to come through her. But she has to understand that the only way to embody the information is to just allow and do without the thought. Because when the thought comes in, it's trying to distort it into a lower density understanding, when the purpose of the bridge is to create higher evolution of thought, higher evolution of evolving these third dimensional bodies and thinking into a space that is elevated to a freer thinking world.
Beautiful. Beautiful. How do others have this ability as well?
Yes, there are many bridges. And the thing why there's so many is because there's a vibration that's coming through. So if I and the fractals bridge down to this vessel. We use this vessel, again, not used because she's one of the fractals, but we chose her vibration, her vocal cords, her energy, because it speaks to a certain group of people. And there are many of them because there are many different vibrations in the planet. So you are just the one for this time space vibration.
Is she meant to be teaching about this?
Everybody is a teacher here. The problem is that most people don't allow it to come through, but we each have a gift to teach. And her denial or her reluctancy to be a teacher is one of the greatest aspects of her, because she doesn't care. There's no attachment to the teach. Where others would have an ego in saying that this is mine, I created this. We're moving to a world where energy is always around you and it's always coming through, popping through, and whoever grabs it can teach it in their way. Multiple people can teach at the same time in their way, their voice, but nobody owns energy. And that's the shift into fifth dimension, the need to not be attached to owning anything. Just being and bringing it through your vessel in your way, because it will resonate with those that are resonating with you. But you don't own it. We don't own it. Energy can't be contained or owned. It is. The third dimension wants to monetize and believe they created something, which is fine because that's how you guys are. There's no judgment on it, but we're moving to a place that energy is free. Now, not everyone is able to be a channel for that. That's one thing. The more open that you become and non-attached you become to the energy, you can become a channel. But that only can occur if you get out of the ego space of owning it. But she's like the opposite. She's like the fearful that she can't bring it through in a very authentic way. And we would just say that she needs to get out of that space, because it's never going to be her that's bringing the energy. It's coming through, and it's authentic because it goes through that clarification, or the crystal that will clarify it. And when it goes through the crystal, it's like it's amplifying and creating the center space. So, for example, each dimension will bring forward its own agenda, right? Because they have an outcome of that they see that is the best outcome. But when it hits that crystal space, it amplifies out and it finds the center point that is beneficial for everyone. So as long as she's teaching from that place of centered connection, there isn't one agenda above the other. And so whenever she feels like she's being pulled towards one idealized viewpoint or judgment or resonance, she's off center. Because when you're center, you can see all perspectives and see why every perspective matters and counts and is needed. Because you can't leave behind the shadow selves. You have to incorporate it all. So when I'm saying it goes through that heart-centered crystal, it's like bringing it to resonance with the true source.
Beautiful.
And then down.
Beautiful. Is there a way for her in this 3D physical body to have a heart-centered crystal that she can use to access the fractals?
Oh, she
More
has this
openly,
already.
more available?
She's been wearing it since her journey started. She has a rose quartz triangle that brings the energy from the centered space down to body. She thinks it's for self-love. It's for more than that. It's a reminder of everything comes from that space.
You mentioned that you showed her the blue being because that was the most open fractal for her to access and to pull in information for her. What other fractals will become available that she will access? And how should she do that if that's beneficial for her?
At this time, they don't need to be visual. It's like I said, it's an essence that comes through in the communication through me, because I am the one that is connected to this life, where fractals do not interfere with this incarnation. Fractals can only bring forward ideas and perspectives, but they cannot affect this incarnation. The higher self is able to guide and be present. The fractals are almost like the different channels on a radio station to help you understand the different frequencies happening in the cosmos, so that you're always centered of what is happening galactically, not just in your galaxy. Like, it's everywhere, but they will never become a part of her programming. It's just information that moves through the heart center. And as I said, as it's clarified and centered, then is embodied and brought down. And the goal of this is to bring it back down the root system into the core of the earth.
Beautiful. And does she know exactly how to bring it down into the core of the earth? Or do you wish to give her any more guidance on that?
Yes, we have already talked about this, but she hasn't done it yet at this new location. I told her that she needed to bury a crystal, and it was at the time specified to be any crystal. If Lumerian was available, that was the cleanest. Bury it where she meditates, sit on top of it, pull the energy down, and as it comes down through the vessel, it's amplified through that crystal and then drawn down to the core of the earth. That is what will pull it down. And that's why she's stuck. She hasn't done this step. So she feels lost and she's not grounding in.
Very good. Okay. Thank you.
And
Thank you for
this is very
explaining that.
common. This is common for all channels. So all channels are here only to evolve the earth. So the amplification, just like in the heart space of my vessel, when you bury a crystal and you meditate with the intention of pulling that energy down through to the earth core, that's how you become the grounded antenna versus the newscaster that's just staying up in the ethers. It's not grounded.
Very good. Okay. Are there any other steps that you would like her to take to become this grounded antenna?
She has already done this. There is this process of earth altars that helps to create the energy between us and the land before anchoring the crystal in. This is as a process of communing with nature and understanding that we are different dimensions, and being invited into this dimension is a huge part of this process, because we cannot bring forward new evolution of ideas and thought without being invited into this planet. By creating an earth altar, we are connecting the different dimensions into this planet and waiting for the welcoming. Once that welcoming happens, and this is done by intuition, you will know when the energy feels like it's time. Then you will create a space that will be your anchoring point. You will bury your crystal, and you will start communing with the earth and us at the same time, because we cannot evolve a planet without the cooperation of the earth. And that's the bridge.
Beautiful. Can you explain to her how the avatar plays a role in this, or if it does?
Avatar is what you guys call ascended masters. In this life, if this process is done correctly and the energy is anchored, once the energy is anchored, that is the avatar, because energy is flowing from all dimensions through the vessel into the earth and is grounded in. That, it looks like a funnel of like a hurricane. Imagine a hurricane. Once that is anchored in, that is the avatar. It is not supposed to be a person. It's not a vessel. It is an energy that is needing to anchor. So there are going to be many avatars moving through the planet. And that is the energy of the avatars, that once that vortex is created, it radiates outward. So imagine if it's like a hurricane and it's this funnel of energy moving around down to the point of the core of the earth. As that blender moves around, it's shooting off energy in all directions. That is the cyclone, I don't know how you say that word, where it's encompassing and pulling more and more towards it to create bigger and bigger funnels of energy down to the core. That is the avatar.
Beautiful. Where is she at in that process? Why does she keep getting... Okay. What I was going to say, why does she keep getting this, hook in her everyday life about the avatar? And so you're saying the bridge?
She's the bridge to bring in the avatar. But she's not the avatar. Remember, ego is the one that wants to identify as something.
100%,
All she is
right.
The bridge to anchor the energy, which is the avatar coming through. And the avatar is all dimensions, right? If we can find a centered space within all dimensions, that is the energy of evolution and moving forward as a galactic body. No one dimension is the ascended master. It takes all to become the avatar.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Would you like to tell her anything else about that process or next steps within it that you
take the steps and do it? There's never going to be a right moment. It's the process. It's showing the process, because as this process happens and as she teaches the process, so she knows of the matrix. She sees the matrix and she sees the spheres that are attached to the matrix. Each one of those spheres is supposed to be an avatar of anchored energy. So as she teaches this, each of the spheres or bridges will also be able to anchor this energy where they are. And the more space that is covered, the more light that is covered, the more energy, the more source energy that can move through the vessels to the core of the earth. And I just keep feeling like it's not possible without the vessel. The vessel has to be the bridge.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Would you like to tell her at all about the walk-in? She had a direct question here about being a walk-in. Let me just see if I can find it. Oh yeah, as a walk-in, is she here to ignite others into their power? Or
Yes,
is it
that's
meant
what we
for
just described.
Okay, very good.
Or is it meant for what?
Or is it meant for something else? Something just
No,
beyond
this is exactly it. No, this is exactly it. It's the bridge that. And what's weird is that the walk-in, yes, happened when she was 19, but it was always an agreement that she would walk in at 19. So when the soul asked to be called Ark, it knew it was going to bridge into the walk-in. So this agreement was always here. It was never, it was always planned to be here. Even her getting to that emotional state to be able to walk out needed to happen in order for that walk-in to come in, because the energy of that vessel, that soul at that time, had to diminish to the point of walking out. And then when the lock-in happened, she became, it's funny, she shaved her head, she changed her name, she walked a different path. And then the reason it didn't awaken until now is because she needed time to acclimate into this dimension before she was ready to blossom open. And this process can take time for different walk-ins. Sometimes it can activate right away, other times it takes time, and this vessel needed years to acclimate before it was ready to become the bridge.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for explaining that. Thank you. She wanted to know, is she ready to start channeling the Earth's heart and become an Earth seed?
Yes. This is exactly what we're talking about. The seed comes through all dimensions, through the vessel, and is anchored in when you start to beat with the core, the heartbeat of the earth. Now is the time.
Is there anything else that she should know about beating at that same rate as the heart, with the core of the heart of the earth?
It's a slower pace. So most of our information is, like I said, I can't come down to your dimension because it's too dense for me, right? So I am up here. The fractals are moving through me. Through the cord, it slows down because the Earth's speed is way lower than our frequency. So that's why meditation is important. That's why being in nature is important. You have to acclimate the high vibrational energy down through the vessel, and the chakras are built to do this. You start at the crown and you are able to absorb the high frequency. You bring it down through the third eye, through the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral, the root. By the time it gets to the solar plexus, the root, the sacral, the root, it's flowing down to the earth vibration. Then you're going to imagine and pull the energy through the root down into the earth. It's almost like that's the translator. That's the plug. That's the one that can speak the same language vibrationally to the earth to help it be in the same resonance. Otherwise, you have energy floating above and energy floating below, and there are no bridges. The chakra system is the actual bridge.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for
The problem is that most people are trying to go upward. Most people, when they talk about the chakras, they're trying to clear the root, clear the sacral, clear the solar plexus so that they can ascend and leave. But we would say it's the complete opposite. You guys are here to seed new information. Although, yes, the root and the trauma needs to be cleared so that that channel is open to eventually pull higher vibrations down. But we would say that once the lower three are cleared, then you stay open and wait for the higher to come down. It's not something that, it feels like there's this push to try to connect to the higher vibrations, and it doesn't feel like there are many, or it feels like there are many people that are stuck there. So we would say that clearing out the root, the sacral, the solar plexus is the goal. And then allowing the energy to find you instead of pushing up to the higher dimensions. Because the whole goal of this evolution is to feed this energy down, not go up.
Where does the invitation fit into this process? As you mentioned before, you are waiting to be invited to come down here. Where does that invitation fit into this process of clearing the chakras and pulling in the energy, or having the energy come down?
In a non-walk-in vessel, it can only come through healing past generational DNA trauma, embodying that trauma as you, knowing that it is part of you, and incorporating it into your heart. So there is nothing shameful about any of the things that we've all experienced. It all is part of you, and therefore needs to be incorporated, not purged, not discarded, not healed. The only healing that can happen is through the heart, and that means owning this trauma because it is your DNA. The vessels that are not walk-ins have to go through this process and hold in that heart space all of the vast, how do you say, like in amazing things and traumatic things and heartbreak and wounds and abuse. All of it has to be able to hold in the heart chakra. Once that is able to hold in that space, you become a beacon that then tells us that you're ready to hold higher vibrational energy. Now, it's not been her journey because she didn't have to do that. When that walk-in happened, she was able to disconnect from the lower three chakras of trauma or ancestral wounding. There was one case that was brought to her attention through her cousin that she is now holding, but there is no biological memories of those traumas throughout the lineages unless it was in her conscious mind. So for her, that is the case, because if she had to go through the healing process, that can take a lifetime, because you're not only clearing for yourself, you're clearing for all the generations before and to come, which that can take a whole lifetime for one vessel to do. If the vessel is clear in the lower three chakras, then the higher energies can come down. And that is what a walk-in is. A walk-in is a clear energetic channel on the lower three to start bringing the energy down.
Very good. So the healing is the invitation.
Yes, the healing is the only way. The more that we deny that part of ourselves and try to ascend, the more false light that comes through. It's almost like a light bulb versus source. It can only go so far. And then what happens is if you're using artificial light to ascend, lower density beings and vibrations attach to that and then work through your body.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for explaining this. She wanted to know about her role as a teacher. What does she need to understand from her higher self that will help her embody fully and become a teacher? And she wants to know, is she afraid of her own power that she brings forward when she's teaching? So a two-part question. What does she need to know about embodying being a teacher, and is there any fear in there?
So I'm going to bring this back to her first question, which was about the energy moving and her touching her hair. When she feels that extreme, to her it's an anxiety and a needing to ground, it's because she's afraid of what's moving through. She's had this sense that the walk-in happened because she doesn't know how to bring it down. And we would say that's because she hasn't grounded the energy. Once the connection is made and grounded in, that will subside. The teaching can only begin once that grounding connection is made. When she was starting this journey, she did have a connection at the cliffs, and that connection was strong. She was asked to leave that connection because it was too much energy in one location. She is now in a space where it can overflow. It doesn't need to have only a short-term connection. This feels like it's able to hold and sustain what will be birthed here. The other place was a public place, and it could not go further because it wouldn't be able to hold different vibrational energies. And as a public space, it needs to be able to allow third, fourth, and fifth to work through it.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Where she is now is the capability to remain in fifth. And she's also right. People have a very hard time being around this new land because it is capable to hold higher dimensional frequency. It is in a bowl. You descend into this land for a reason. It is not seen by the naked eye.
That is fascinating.
It's like a sphere is around this space. And not to be attached to that, but to know that it's capable to hold the energy.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So that answers her question then. She wondered, is she living in the fifth dimension now?
Yes. When they moved to this land was already in fifth dimension. So that's why they couldn't find it until they opened up their viewpoint of what they were looking for. What's interesting is that the landowners prior to this showed them their angelic being self and were able to match her frequency with the gifts and the love that they gave to her and Richard. But as they left this dimension, and there is nothing wrong with that. They were the stewards to bring this land forward to you, and it's time to let that connection go.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you for explaining that. She asks about the energy of the sun. Where does the sun fit in all of this that you've already explained, and what is her role with that energy?
In this space, nothing exists without the sun. So everything is powered through the sun, which means that we all are the sun. When we talk about embodying the sun, it's that instead of it coming from outside of you and sustaining life from outside of you, you need to learn to hold the life inside. That burst of energy, that constant fuel is something that needs to be birthed inside of you. We will not say that the sun will go away, but we are moving to a place where more energy will be coming from the avatars working through the bridges than will come from the actual sun eventually. And it's just a shift of consciousness to understand the more that you allow that energy to be embodied, the easier this transition will be for all.
Beautiful. Okay. She asks, is there anything else that she should do in her daily life to help her vessel bring in more light? Anything beyond what you've already told her and anything beyond what she already knows?
Find time for play. When we're in that play state, as you said, the mind stops and the play happens, and new ideas and new life creations can come in those key moments of blankness. And the higher your vibration as you play, the higher the vibrational downloads will be. So when we talk about play, it takes many forms, but it's connecting to the one that makes you feel the most love. So in her case, she has animals around her, and it's the nurturing and the playing and the loving with those animals that help put her in that frequency of receiving love. And that is the best place to be at this time.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What are some things that she should do for play that she may not already know?
She's finding new ways to do this, especially in this land, and she's had judgment about it. There are, this place that they are has a pool and beautiful scenery and animals everywhere, and it's allowing her to see the quieter, more simple side of life, and at the same time lose the judgments of the world. So one of the things many people come here to do is to relax, and there's been this cannabis that has been involved through the form of gummies. And she has this feeling that she loses herself in this if she partakes, so she thinks it's a bad thing. What we would say is that it brings forward laughter and an enjoyment that her ego is very fearful of. Her ego wants to shut things down and hold close, hold tight the vessel. When we release ourselves, even if it is in the case of plant medicines, always allowing and tuning into, is the moment right, is the best decision. Never the ego telling you it's bad, right? There is nothing bad. These things exist for us to lose ourselves, lose the ego. And in the case of this cannabis, it is to allow her to fully embody laughter, playfulness, connectedness without the judgment of herself. That's one reason why she feels more connected in plant medicines, is because the ego isn't there to judge.
Beautiful.
So we would say in all of these teachings, these tools, they're just tools, but they're tools to help you realize what's missing in your existence. So let's say if you take cannabis and you fall asleep, well, that means you're missing sleep in your life. If you take cannabis and you have a laughing fit and you're joyful and you're embracing people and having deep conversations, that means that's what's missing in your life. These tools are just there to show you what's missing, because the ego steps aside and lets you experience what is missing.
Thank you for explaining that. That was beautiful. Thank you. She wanted to know, what should she be looking at in herself to work on next?
Grounding. She needs to ground the energy. Whenever she feels this need to use her hands on her hair to move energy, it's time to ground. So I would say that every single time she has that anxious energy, it's time to bring it down. That is literally us knocking on the door saying energy needs to pass.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. What are some, I know she knows ways to ground, but what are other ways that she doesn't know that would be helpful for her to use?
To ground?
Yeah. Yeah.
Understanding that through teaching, you embody fully more energy that is trying to ground into this world, right? If you just are meditating, so she meditates, but she lets her body float out instead of bringing down energy. So we would say that instead of just aimlessly listening to floating ambient sounds so that she leaves the body, that's exactly the opposite of what needs to happen. She needs to pull energy down, always down into this planet. So in meditation, that should look like, if she prefers to lay down on the earth, connecting all the chakras down through the ground in almost like a root system, and intertwining and pulling down to the earth. And we would say this is true for all people. Remember, you're here to help change this planet, not to leave this planet. So whenever you're trying to escape the body, even through meditation, you can still anchor and ground your thoughts, your mind, by going down. And that is what we would suggest.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you. Now, she wanted to know about her health. You know, she always whacks her feet, always hurts her feet, and then she has her thyroid issue. She wanted to know, is there anything she should know about still using Synthroid and whether she should continue taking it or not?
First, we'll talk about the feet.
Okay.
When she's too out of her body, she doesn't identify with the body. And therefore, that is when she doesn't know the length of her feet or the stability of her gauge, or I guess you'd call it gauge or structure. The grounding will help pull her more into this vessel, and those stumblings and hittings of her toes will become non-existent, because she will know each step. Each step will connect her back to the earth, and it will be purposeful. Where now she's up in the upper chakras floating. It's not as grounded as it should be. So that's that question. The thyroid, we would say, is healed. As long as energy is moving through the thyroid for her, it's not being stored and attacking the thyroid. She is using the celery juice to clear the metals, and at this time we would say she should experiment. Either cut the Synthroid pill in half and take half a day, or yes, cut it in half, take half a day, and then retest the blood in 6 months. This is to ease the aid of the Synthroid and bring it back to a natural rhythm and the thyroid back to its natural state. However, if she stops talking and stops teaching, that energy will build back up and attack the thyroid again. So it all is dependent on energy moving through the throat.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. She asked about her procrastination. Why does she always procrastinate?
Sometimes the energy that comes through can feel overwhelming, and that overwhelm can lead to not knowing which is the next first step. And sometimes that first step is just a step. But when you have this whole inverted umbrella waiting to come through this tiny little sieve, it can feel overwhelming. So we would say take one step. One step brings forward the next step. And it's not looking at the big picture. It's literally allowing the energy or the sieve open so that it starts to trickle. And it needs to first, the trickle needs to come first before the flood can come next. So procrastination happens when that umbrella is full and heavy and you feel weighed down by it versus enlivened by it.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you for explaining that. She wanted to know, is Aya her master teacher?
Aya is the earth, and she's calling you forward. That's what we would say. Every connection, even though it helps you to connect with your higher dimensional self, she's calling you downward because she's trying to bridge between Mother Earth and the galactic. So what better bridge than for you to see that you're part of the whole picture, and both are needed. So is she a master? Of course she is. She's of this planet, and she is a source for all beings to reconnect with their roots. Now, like I said before, sometimes there's clearing that has to go through those bottom 3 chakras for you to feel your roots. So it's not always pleasant, but she is a teacher in this life for everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you. She asks, is she on track, on the right track with teaching from doing?
Yes, that's the only way it will happen. It has to happen as a teach, learn, teach. Always knowing nothing and letting the energy guide is the way to go.
Beautiful. Thank you for explaining that. She wanted to know, are there people in the energy group that are trying to take her energy in a draining way?
It's not on purpose. What happens is that the more we called it like a tornado or a vortex of energy, the more that you pull your light down and then emanate it out in this vortex, it will attach people that are attached to your vibration, and they can only bring to the party what they are. So it's not conscious that they want to drain. It's that they are attached to a false light, or they haven't found the sun within themselves or allowed the sun to speak through them yet. So they're bringing in, it feels like an imitation of light. And that can, to you, feel draining because it's artificial. It's not a judgment. It's more of a understanding the difference. When you're in other lights that are the sun, you feel it right away because you feel a resonance. When you feel drained, it's because that artificial light needs a power source, and it's found it in you.
So what should she do in those instances?
This is a tough question. It feels like there's a purpose for that energy to be around you because it came to you. But if you give your light and that light is not even the smallest step taken, then you know they've just plugged in to empower their current situation, and you need to disconnect.
What should that disconnection look like for her?
Cutting all cords, pulling back all the energy and releasing them in love. Whenever a thought occurs of that person again, that is just them knocking on your door trying to get back in. And you know that, so you will use your discernment and know when, if the timing is not right, you will not open the door. It's very important to protect the source of your light, but at the same time give it out. So it's a conundrum, really. to understand the difference. If it's a draining energy, you know that that person is still attached to imitation light. It's not a bad thing. It's just it needs a source, right? And that person doesn't understand that they're draining you in order to feel alive. So the easiest way is to guide them back to find their own sun source energy inside. But if your guidance is not helpful, knowing that and walking away from it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And is there any information that you'd like to give her to help her guide people to their own sun source inside, or does she already know all of the information about that she needs?
We've already shown her that at this point, most people are stuck in fourth dimension, teetering on deciding whether they go back into third or they evolve into fifth. And it's that teetering point of where all of the souls that need the most help. There isn't a right answer. And that's the thing that is the most important in all of this, is that if someone decides they need more time in third, perfect. It's okay. But then her energy can't sustain that anymore. That's why it feels draining. And it's okay to let go of those that have decided to stay in third. If there is some source of evolution within the vessel of making changes, doing like the smallest steps in a new direction, that is, who knows where it will end up, but at least it's a step of change, and change has energy towards it. It's not circling the drain in the same story over and over. So what she's looking for is the people that are interested in making change in their lives. And if after working with someone, it's clear there is no change on the horizon, it's having peace with it and knowing that your paths cross for a reason, like a crossroads, to see and give that person one more choice point. Again, there isn't a judgment. It doesn't matter. Like, we all need to stay exactly where we are if we need to. We need more time, and there isn't a bad thing about it. It's just allowing what it is, but not allowing people to pull you backwards and make you then go through the mind monkey games of, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Should I not have said this? Well, now I feel bad about myself in this way. That's them pulling you backwards into their drama.
Very good. Thank you. She asked about, this financial frequency and anything she should know about that energy exchange financially that she's not really comfortable with. What advice would you like to give her there?
It's a hard question, because many people that are light workers are here to heal, know the energy is moving through them and it's not the vessel. So the vessel feels like, why should I collect for something that I am just channeling? And what we would say is that it's all energy. If energy is flowing out through your body, energy has to replenish the body. Now, that can be through an exchange. And in her case, she feels comfortable with exchanges. But at the same time, she can exchange work with the universe. She has to find a way to receive energy back without it needing to be so personal. In the energy group, she has done exchanges because these are people that she feels very close to. But the wider that her reach becomes, she won't need an exchange. The exchange won't be able to match her vibration. So there will need to be it feels like a steady vibration of energy that can come back. And that's what we would say is currency. Even though what she doesn't like about it is it feels impersonal, what she needs to understand is that it needs to be impersonal. everything that you feel, and this is something that I would say is for all energy workers, you will never get back what you're putting out in the same way. Like in this exchange with Allison, you're getting her vibration back for the energy that you gave. And that's a beautiful exchange because you're receiving what you are not. But in the case of helping people, sometimes they're not clear channels. Sometimes they're not able to give you back at that same vibrational level. And that's where energy in the form of currency works on your planet. Mm. And so it's having a non-attachment or non-judgment about it, and understanding that if someone chooses to be able to pay for a service because that's what they currently have to give, it's being able to receive that without the need for it to be more or less. All you can do is hold space and hold in this case, let's say a currency or a number, and let the other party decide if it's worth that number. You will never know that, and you will never be able to understand what it means to them to pay for something or not pay for something. But what we would say is that by making the choice to pay for something, you're stepping into the vibration of the healing, of the energy. Without making that commitment, you're wishy-washy. You're in, one foot in, one foot out. You're not committed to the process. So we would say that the energy needs to come forward in order to meet your energy where it is. And if you can look at it from that perspective, like it's like a teeter-totter that needs to work in both directions, it takes out the thing of, but I already have. Why do I need more?
Beautiful. Thank you for explaining that. That was very, very clear. Thank you. What can help her exhaustion?
She's exhausted because that energy is stuck. It needs to go and be grounded. So that comes back to that point of, again, when she has that anxious, that vibe moving through her that she's trying to soothe, it needs to be pulled down. And what I feel is like the more open flowed that energy is, it's not going to get tied up in the body, which that overtires the body. It's making it feel fatigued because it doesn't know what to do with the energy. So the more that she can bring it and let it move through down to the earth, that funnel will open and it won't feel so heavy.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Do you have any final messages for her today? Any final messages, any further information about her fractal selves, her higher self, pulling in energy, anchoring it to the earth, teaching it as she's doing it? Any final information that you would like her to know?
I would just say she's not alone here. You know, sometimes it can feel like she is, but there are many people that are doing this work. But the thing is they work in silos. Like I said, they work in those avatar vortexes, and it's designed to be that way because you're carrying a vibration that is radiating out towards the people that resonate with your vibration. But to understand that it's not all on your shoulders will help to alleviate that inverted umbrella of pressure that you have to bring forward something that you're not ready to bring forward. And that's what the mind then clicks in and gets involved with the story. And if you're just here to bring forward your piece of it and you start moving that energy through your body into the ground, that is the most important part. Then it will all flow and there will be no next steps because it will be, right? You will be flowing. It's not like you have to concoct what the next step is. There is no next step. This is all happening now for a reason, and it's just to bring us forward to a new earth.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank the higher self for coming into our session And all the other fractals that we were speaking with would think that